Greetings, all you maniacs. My name is Manic, and welcome back to another installment of Manic Mondays. Now, today I am going to be going over what got me into the Souls games. What drew me to Dark Souls? Was it the way the story is told? Was it the challenging aspects of the game, like the combat environment or the bosses? Or was it a combination of all these things? I would have to say it was a combination. Before I even watched the Game Grumps play Dark Souls 3 or anything like that, I didn't really hear much of Dark Souls. I really didn't understand, and I didn't truly know what Dark Souls was. All I heard was, oh, it's a game known for being extremely hard, and that's about it. I knew about Ornstein and Smo, mostly from like top 10 list videos of most difficult bosses in video games, but other than that, I didn't really hear much of Dark Souls. And then when I got Dark Souls 3 and I started to play it, I loved the world. First off, it was brutal. The first time I ever played Dark Souls, I must have struggled with the first few bosses for like 5 hours. It took so damn long to beat those guys. Now, yeah, I know, first Souls experience is always going to be your hardest Souls experience. That's not always true though, because I find Dark Souls 1 to be way more difficult than Dark Souls 3 in some aspects. I've beaten every single Dark Souls 1 boss by myself, but I haven't beaten every single Dark Souls 3 boss by myself. Mostly because the bosses in Dark Souls 1 are pretty simple. Roll, attack, roll, attack. That's basically it. Dark Souls 3, it's somewhat like that, but mostly you have to really watch out because everything is so much faster in Dark Souls 3. People say, oh, Dark Souls 1 is a little bit slower than Dark Souls 3. No, Dark Souls 1 is way slower than Dark Souls 3. It truly is. Dark Souls 3 is fast. It's brutal, and that's why I would love to play Bloodborne, but I haven't played Bloodborne. Dark Souls 2, I don't have much knowledge of because I haven't played it myself. Anyway, it wasn't just the amazing environment. It was also the fact that the story is not in your face. I actually like that. I like just piecing the story together and making up your own interpretation. Now, there are lore videos and things that actually piece all the lore together for you, but I honestly think if you want to know the lore, just experience the games and the item descriptions and everyone talking in riddles, and if you manage to piece everything together, the story is excellent. It's freaking phenomenal. But it can be boiled down to the gods are douchebags and they want to watch the world burn because they're precious fire and they do not want to see the age of dark, the age of man. So, extinguish the first flame for Christ's sake and let humans roam the earth, damn it. It would fix everything. Everything that's going on is because the freaking fire needs to be rekindled every now and then. Let it die. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Dark Souls is definitely a very unique experience for its storytelling. It's not gonna baby you or, tell exactly what's going to happen. You basically just have to roll the punches, and I actually like that. I like that a lot. Now, to me, what do I like better about Dark Souls 3 than Dark Souls 1 and vice versa? Dark Souls 3, I like the combat a bit better. Your character feels more competent with weapons, and each weapon can be used effectively. In Dark Souls 1, it boils down to basically 2 weapons. 3 if maybe some boss weapon works for you. It's either a Black Knight halberd or any Black Knight weapon, or the Zweihander. That's really it. But in Dark Souls 3, every single weapon works. Every single weapon works for different purposes, but you can run through the entire game only using one weapon. Same thing with the other Souls games. Well, except for when you get to Yorm, because you're going to want the Storm Ruler against that big guy. Unless you want to suffer, by all means, go ahead. Try and slash at his ankles. You're going to be there all day. He has like 50k health or something. It's insane. But the Dark Souls 1 combat is just, there's this ongoing theory that your character in the Souls games isn't really competent with weapons, and you can really see that in Dark Souls 1. He or she really does not know how to use a weapon. Dark Souls 2, I don't really know, but from what I've heard, it seems that the weapons are like way better than Dark Souls 1. In Dark Souls 3, everything's a lot faster and all the weapons do the thing. But that's not really why I love the Souls games, is the combat. Well, the combat is. I also love the difficulty. I love the difficulty. Some games are just obnoxiously difficult, but Dark Souls is tough but fair. You didn't die because some glitch or something stupid happened. You died because it was your own damn fault. The only way that you die is your stupidity. And I love that. If you don't roll at the right time, you're gonna die or take a lot of damage and you have to take a sip of Estus. And also some bosses will punish you for trying to drink. Apparently they don't like you drinking in their face. Go figure. But if you're not prepared for an area, you're gonna suffer. So farming souls and leveling up is a very good thing. I also love the aspect of, as soon as you go into a game like Dark Souls 3, you're immediately signed into a server, and if you use an Ember, you can summon people, but people can invade your world and really mess up your day. Yeah, they suck, and they do not stop until you have a scythe shoved up your ass, but it's honestly a pretty cool thing, and some people are very honorable. If you see a dude watching you, and he's a red dude or a purple dude, and he starts chugging Estus, chug your Estus and then fight. If you don't do that, you're kind of a douchebag. But I do not really care for PvP though, because it really just boils down to straight sword or great sword. You might see a hammer every now and then, you might see a spear every now and then, but they're going to get parried to death. So the PvP aspect of Dark Souls isn't really a factor why I love it so much. And going back to the world, I really like that fantasy, medieval sort of thing. I love sci-fi more, but magic, I've always loved magic. I've always loved, take for example, in Dark Souls 3, you can freaking huck lightning at people if you want. That's awesome. You can probably make a Thor build if you can find a hammer. I think if you use the blacksmith's hammer, that's the closest thing you're going to get to Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. But it's just really damn cool to be able to use magic and a melee weapon. You can do that in other games like Skyrim, but it's not as viable because you have to also unequip a weapon to use magic in Skyrim unless you're using a staff, but no one uses staffs in Skyrim. I don't think anyway. It's been a while since I played Skyrim. But, you can throw your fire at someone, you can throw your lightning, and then switch back to either your main weapon or a shield, and then move in close. And I love that dynamic. You can change, you can adapt to the situation. And it's just great. And I also love how you don't need a specific weapon, except for Yorm, to beat certain bosses. You can use whatever the damn well you please, and I adore that. The game doesn't really favor one specific build either. Some people say, oh, the knight build, use a big sword and you'll fly through this game. That's not necessarily true. As long as you have enough endurance, vitality, and vigor, your health, you'll be good. But you can also go with like a one-shot build where you can get one-shot yourself because you're using the red tearstone ring and power within and all that stuff. And if you're good enough at dodging, you can wreck the game. Now, the game is unbalanced, but this is more so for the PvP people. I don't really PvP. I occasionally get summoned as a blue spirit, or I occasionally get invaded, but typically I don't really seek out the PvP aspect of the Souls games. Especially Dark Souls 1, because I have the original, no one plays it anymore because the remaster. But that's fine. If you only play the Souls games for the PvP, that's fine. But what I really love about Souls is it's a cool adventure. You're scared halfway through the game, well, pretty much the entire game, especially Dark Souls 1, because you can't warp between bonfires at the beginning of the game. And that honestly, some of the areas like Sin's Fortress, that's a bit much in my mind, but whatever, it's Dark Souls. And you have to be patient. I said Dark Souls 3 is fast, it is, but you also have to be very patient and roll accordingly. And if you don't get good at rolling and dodging attacks, and you just try and tank everything, yes, you can if you use certain weapon arts or certain sets of armor, but poise isn't as powerful as it was in Dark Souls 1. You can't be a Havel monster and just tank and eat damage. But also, fat rolling will literally get you slaughtered. Don't fat roll. But I don't know. I just love the Souls games because fantasy medieval has always really been awesome to me. Same thing with sci-fi. That's why I love games like Warframe and Halo. I just love the aspect of the adventure in Dark Souls. The fact that it's difficult, the fact that the game is going to brutalize you, the fact the game is better than you will ever be. Unless you're one of those guys that does a no-hit run at SL1. But people are freaking insane, dude. Someone beat the game in like an hour and 20 minutes. No major skips, everything. Like, damn, people are good at these games. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But another side question, what do I like better, Dark Souls 1 or 3? And I have to say Dark Souls 3. I just like the way the combat is much better. Dark Souls 1, I love the level progression, the world, how everything is stacked and intertwined and interconnected. It's perfect. It's honestly perfect. If Dark Souls 4 ever comes out, I would want it to be as fast as Dark Souls 3, but also have similar level design as Dark Souls 1. That would be beautiful to me. That'd be great. Not knowing if you're going into the right area and then all of a sudden you come across the over-leveled enemy and you're like, okay, not that path. Dark Souls 3 is more linear. There are a few branching paths here and there. Tip, there is one in the Profane Capital if you look. I'm pretty sure everyone knows about it. Let's not talk about that area because I hate it. It's disgusting. It's just ugh, God. But, and also screw Fair and Keep. Anyway, that's what I really love about the Souls games. The way the levels are, the way the story is, the combat, how everything is just, it's just so well put together. Now, when you think of it, a video game with a story that is unbelievably vague, and you have to piece everything together in order to get a full story. In concept, that does not sound like it works, but Dark Souls makes it work. It's perfect for the Souls series. Every single Dark Souls games, including Demon Souls, even though I've never played it, and I don't think I ever will play it, because it's PS3 only, right? But it's just a great video game series, and I really cannot wait to see if there's going to be another installment of the Souls games. Everyone wants to see another Souls game. Whether it be Bloodborne 2, if it's Bloodborne 2, please, for the love of God, put it on PC and everything else. God damn it. Whether it be even more DLC for Dark Souls 3, which I don't think is going to happen. But I would also love to see sort of a Chalice Dungeon sort of thing for Dark Souls 3. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would like to see that because it'd be cool. It would just be cool. But whatever the next Souls game is, it's going to be awesome. And I really cannot wait if they ever do another Souls game. Right now, it doesn't look like they're going to, but you never know, dude. I will get Dark Souls 2. I don't know if I'm going to do it for a series. Maybe I'll just play it my off time. Unless you guys want me to play Dark Souls 2, even though a lot of people don't really care about it, but I'm just intrigued. That's just what I had to say about this topic. Just a little ramble about the Souls games, and yeah, guess I'm done. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, leave a like and a comment. Remember, in Trilby, we trust.